What is going on, everybody? We are live. Hopefully, everybody can see okay. Please feel free to jump in the chat. We're going to be working on the Warcry terrain. If you're checking this out, please jump in the chat and let me know you can hear me okay. And we're going to get started. I'm going to be using the Badger Patriot 105. So and just to get started, hopefully the air pressure is not too unbearable for you, but I'm actually going to put a little bit of cardboard down, sort of like that, just to help not spray those bottles. So once again, please let me know if you are in the chat. Say what up. It looks like first I'm just going to use the airbrush with some black Stynylrez primer, and that's just going to be used to get some of these little nooks and crannies I missed with the rattle can. I'm going to use a little bit of flow improver. So I've never done the airbrush on camera before, so we'll try it. But I'm just going to put some flow improver in. And I'm going to put some of this black primer. If you haven't seen my video, if you use pantyhose underneath this, you can actually strain it while you pour it into your bottle, so you don't get little chunks. It's a good little tip. I have a video on it. You can go check it out. Give it a little stir. And a little test here. Cool. So basically, anywhere that these little, I can see the gray. It's just because the rattle can, I missed some of the little nooks and crannies. This is just a little piece of the Warcry terrain. And it's also going to be my test. And this will just be to test out a color scheme idea. I'm just going to use all the paint in the thing here, and I'm going to rinse it out. So hopefully I don't make a huge mess trying to figure out how to use the airbrush on camera for the first time live. But we're going to try. So let's jump over and see. So just wanted to reestablish the darks, make sure I got everything covered. And I'm using Summer Formula window washer fluid as my cleaner. Or I'm using the Badger Minotaur ready to use airbrush cleaner, which is almost empty, and when I'm done with this one I'll actually switch to the window cleaner, probably full time. And as always, I got distilled water in my little dropper, which I don't have enough. So since I don't have enough, I better fill that up first. So I just use distilled water in my little bottle here. That helps keep the wet palette mold free. And potentially my colors more pure when I'm mixing or thinning them with water. If you have hard water in your area out of your faucets, could be a problem. So let's see, I think I got a bunch of Minotaur colors here that I may try out. I got Ancient Bone, Ecchymos, Demonic Skin, Bloodstained Mud. I don't actually think I need Bloodstained Mud. I don't like that. So my plan is I want to do like a purple to like a peach bone color maybe. So whatever that means. That's what I'm going to try. So let's go ahead and jump in, and we'll just go with some white Stino Res. Definitely could use a shake. And we're going to do a zenithal here. It looks like my PSI is about 40. So we'll put a little bit of the airbrush thinner in our cup before we put the water in. Not the water, but the white primer. Also, I have the pantyhose under here. Helps strain it for chunks. Although you can see there's still some chunks forming on top. So I gotta be careful of that. Looks like my pantyhose dried up. Dang. So there's the pantyhose. So you can see it's kind of dried up with paint. So we'll just move it over a little bit, and that should be fine. It's basically to filter our paint before we put it in our airbrush. See, there we go. So I'm just going to do this sort of a zenithal top down, but I am going to hit the bottom as well because I want that to be purple anyway. I'm just going to hit it a little bit, and I'll do more towards the top. So some down there on the bottom, and some more towards the top. Get those statues good. Like we ran out, put a little bit more white in. That's probably too much for all we got left, but that's okay. Oh no, it turned out it wasn't even enough. Yeah, so if you're watching in the chat, feel free to jump in and let me know if you have any questions. Looks like somehow we're still sputtering. I guess we're not getting enough. Guess we didn't get enough paint. Just putting some water in there to kind of rinse it out real quick. Put a couple more drops of white. There we go. So that's kind of a zenithal prime on our terrain. Go ahead and give this some window washer fluid. Dump it out, spray. And I use a cut up old t-shirt to stick in the cup and try to wipe out any residue while I'm working between colors. I'll tell you, I'm not probably an expert enough with the airbrush to really show you how to do this. But you can see me kind of struggle through, and hopefully you learn a little something. And there we go. Looks like we got a nice zenithal prime. Now I want to go with like a purple. I'll get my primers out of the way. And that's also how you can zenithal prime too without gray. I do have gray primer, but I just wanted to show you if you just are a little controlled with the white, it's gray, and then you can kind of increase the amount you spray. It's kind of pooling and kind of wet in there, so I'm going to just spray some air at it, try to help that dry a little bit. You can see it kind of moving. Hopefully that doesn't cause us any problems, but there you go. So my thought was maybe I spray the whole thing with this muted violet ink and go from there. So that's what I'm going to do. So we're going to spray the whole wall with muted violet ink. Doing this on video also, if I really end up liking the result, I'll have a record to go back and be able to repeat this over all the terrain. If you're familiar with Warcry, there is a lot of terrain. So this is just a small... Tempest in the building! What's going on? Can you hear me okay? Yeah, so I'm just going to spray purple ink over this. And this is just one of many, many pieces. So if we can hopefully get this looking good, then I can repeat it over and over again. So I think I'm going with muted violet ink. Awesome. So the volume is working. So we're going to go with muted violet ink from Liquitex. I think I could go straight into the airbrush with this, but I'm going to put a few drops of thinner anyway. It probably wouldn't be a bad idea to put a few drops of, yeah, you know what I'll do? I'm going to put, so a few drops of thinner Vallejo, and then I'm going to do a few drops of the AK Ultra Matte, just to help the ink dry a little matte, which hopefully will make it look a little more visible on camera. I don't know how much I need, but okay, so hopefully the ink over the primer has a cool effect, and if not, we'll figure it out. We'll just keep going. So I'm just going to do an all-over spray here. If I'm going to spray extra, it's going to be towards the bottom. And then the ink over the zenithal gives us hopefully a decent looking gradation. I'm going to kind of go heavy on these columns just to add almost like a dark spot. Make it kind of darken those corners. And we'll just keep spraying until we run out. Okay, so there we go. We got kind of a purple ink over the black and gray, or black and white primer. Looks like we rubbed it off a little bit there. That's unfortunate. Guess we could fix it later. Or it's repelling there, I'm not sure. Maybe we can do one drop and just blast it right there. So, okay, I'm going to use some water to just give it a quick rinse and spray it out. And then I'm going to go with some cleaner. And I'm hoping that the build up here is somewhat simple, but I'll spend more time picking out details with the brush. So we're trying to find that balance. Now I think maybe we go with Ecchymos. Which actually, I don't think Ecchymos is going to make any difference. I'm just looking at the color here. Pretty annoying trying to use this cardboard to block my paints up there, but if you look at this color, that's pretty close to what we're already working with, so we might use this as a way to fix up the areas that we need to, but for right now I think we're going to be fine without it. So maybe we'll jump right over to Demonic Skin, which this is more pink. These haven't been used in a while, the Minotaur line. I have them. I don't use them a ton. But my plan actually, because I have them and I don't use them a ton, I figured it would actually be pretty smart to use them on this Warcry terrain, because then I could use them up, right? So I put some Airbrush Flow Improver in, and we'll go with some of that Demonic Skin. And I'm going to put a few drops of the AK Ultra Matte. If you watched the last stream where I was painting the Warcry, I was actually using the matte medium mixed in with my water while I was painting, and it was pretty cool. It made for kind of a nice effect of being able to see the finished matte product without having to wait till the very end like I normally do. So we'll give it a test. Looks fine. And I think we'll just spray this from above and kind of far away. So here's, it's probably too far away for you to really see, but, and because I have this cardboard up at an angle, it's making this a little more difficult for me. But we want to just hit the tops of our purple gradation there. Looks good. And we'll spray a little extra from kind of directly above. Just because we have the paint in the airbrush already, I'm going to spray it. This part actually hooks into another piece of terrain, but cool. All right, I like that. Well, basically how I'm cleaning it right now is I'm just doing distilled water, kind of shaking it around, dumping it, a little more water, dump it, spray it. And then I'm doing cleaner, shake it around, dump it, spray it, cleaner, spray it all the way through. And that's giving us a clean enough cut. And then I'm going to go with old t-shirt, which definitely could use a wash or into the garbage. And I could switch to a new part of it, but we're not going to do that yet. And then I'll just do a little bit more water just to make sure. So I think that was pretty good. I think as of right now, if we went up to the dry brush, we could make a fairly effective terrain gradation. But the idea, I think, is I want to do purple to like a rosy kind of sandstone color. So I think it looks okay now. You know, if we put a wash on some dry brush, it would look all right. Sean Blake, what's going on? I'm messing around with my airbrush here. I'm not a big airbrusher, but here's what we did yesterday. Here's the, it's not focused in right with the lighting, but anyway, we streamed yesterday, we painted up that guy. So we're doing a color test for the terrain here. Now, we kind of worked on some purples over blacks. That's cool. I think I might want that more intense purple down there, but we'll do that later. We might actually go with like this purple lake, super purple ink at the end and maybe hit the bottom. So let's see where we end up with. Let's try Earth. Okay, from Minotaur. Looks like a pretty decent beige color. I'm gonna go flow improver. Squirt of flow improver. Squirt of earth. Maybe 50-50, maybe a little more flow improver than earth, I don't know. At this point, it might make sense to actually thin down a little bit extra. Also, I forgot, but I'm going to put in some of this AK Ultra Matte. Just going to keep adding that as we go, and that way we'll be able to see the finished product as it dries. You know, maybe even a touch of water in this one. Oh, thank you, Sean. Yeah, I'm doing, trying to figure out a purple gradation to maybe like a sandstone, kind of rosy sandstone. So, right now it's pretty dark here and below, and then it goes to this pink color here, where I think I actually want it to be really dark purple down here and go to this kind of color just right above it. So I think I'm quite a bit of a ways off. Let's test it. There we go. This one's pretty fleshy, but we'll make it work. So we'll get little chunkies or something. I'm going to try to aim it, I guess, keeping it like at this height, maybe a little below those. Yeah, we'll try to aim it around these like little faces and hit a little below them. That'll give us kind of a good marker of maybe where to shoot in the future. Don't want to miss in those kind of corners. And I'm just going to probably go ahead and keep spraying until I run out of paint. Oh, my cardboard's not being very good at protecting my pots. Here we go. So we got kind of a buildup of a sandstone. And throw in some water, dump it out, maybe spray it. A little more water, dump it out. And there we go. Put in some cleaner. You can still see there's quite a bit of pigment in the cleaner. And then after I do the cleaner, I like to do one more thing of water just to hopefully clean that out. Alright, so I'm not mad at that. This is actually kind of coming out how I was. I think, I don't think we can actually see it on video as well as it looks in real life. So let me see what I can do here. I think that looks a little more accurate. Hopefully that was still good to watch before, but I think this looks a little more accurate. Also, if anybody's enjoying this, feel free to hit the thumbs up. I think that helps potentially people find the stream. Now I think we're going to go with Ancient Bone, which depending on the color, hopefully it is significantly brighter. Test it on my finger. Yeah, it looks good. Oh, almost knocked over my airbrush holder. I am not set up at all for being an airbrush stream, so we're just trying to make it work. I know people like watching this kind of stuff, so. With a little bit of flow improver, a little bit of, what was this, Ancient Bone? Maybe a drop of matte medium, maybe a drop of water. This one's really thin. But it looks pretty bright, so. And this time we'll aim it. Last time we were trying to keep it around their faces on these little things above the archways, kind of like around that area. So this time I think I'll aim it kind of along this line above those faces. Let the bottom part of the cone kind of hit those faces. And I'm doing it pretty far away. In kind of a downward angle. Okay. We got something. It's okay. I think once we hit it with like a dry brush too, things will start to pop even better. Alright, so we'll hit it with some water, try to get this out. I'm trying to work on my thinning my airbrush paints way more than I was. You get a, that's just the airbrush cleaner, I kind of shake it around. I feel like I was getting quite a bit of clogs recently on a airbrush I was using. I switched to the Patriot 105 because I think it has a bigger needle. And I'm trying to also work on properly thinning. Looks like we got a, that was like a little splotch of paint right there. Probably be able to fix that in some sort of dry brush later or something, or wash. So it looks like now, I don't know, we could go humanoid flesh, or I could jump immediately over to Desolated Beach. I think I want to go Desolated Beach. I think I'm done with the pinks. I think the pinks are probably good enough. So I think we can go, let's go Desolated Beach. I don't think this one's even been opened yet. No, so this is Desolated Beach. Let's open it and see what we're working with. I don't know. Eventually we're going to need to dry brush. Let's see what that looks like. Alright, I don't know if this one's quite light enough for us. Put some airbrush thinner in there. We probably don't need a lot of this, so we'll do like 4 drops. Drop of the matte varnish or 2. And we'll start up with our dirty brush. I don't think this one's actually going to be bright enough for us. Super thin, maybe too thin. And I think we're going to aim it basically along these 2 lips of the architecture. So like there, but farther back. And maybe more downward. Yeah, I'm glad I didn't put too much of this in. Pretty unnoticeable. So we'll just dump that out. I don't think it's doing a whole lot for us anyway. And then also here you can use the window washer cleaner, which I have open and I use, but I've been using this one for a long time, the Badger Minotaur ready to use airbrush cleaner, but it was like $10 maybe at the convention I bought it from. I'm not sure what it cost like in normal price, but I know it's not going to be nearly as cheap as window washer formula. So I think I'll probably end up just switching to the window washer formula from here on out, once that runs out. Well, let's jump over to the chat, see if anybody's saying anything. No, we got a quiet chat tonight. Hopefully everything's looking cool. Probably hit it with a wash at some point. So I think we want to do maybe a gray. Yeah. I want to do a gray, but that Desolated Beach color just didn't, I mean, it's a pretty nice gray, but didn't really show up. I think we're going to go white gray from Mecca, the Late Home Mecca. Let's see what that looks like on our... So yeah, that looks pretty bright. And we'll, I guess the thinner is already here, so we'll do some thinner. Just a couple drops of white, gray, maybe 3 drops. Maybe a touch of matte medium. We'll see how this works out for us. It might be a little thin, but test it on here on the top. Since this one's so thin, we'll actually go ahead and let it overspray a little bit of our target area. There we go. I think we're kind of bringing it down. Actually, because we use such a thin one, we actually don't really have to worry too much. We'll spray some water in to get all that out. Spray a little bit of cleaner. Basically, the thinner you keep your paints that you put in your airbrush, the less likely you have to clean much of it. Yeah, so this is our test. We're trying to do a purple to a rosy sandstone pink color. And I think it's looking pretty good. Now I think with a brush I'll pick out like these bricks. You know, pop out some of these details. But the main structure, like the statues and columns and stuff, I think will be just kind of the airbrush, dry brush situation. So that looks pretty good to me. So I think we're going to go with this super purple lake from FW Dalarani. Give that a shake. I'm going to see if I can't reintroduce some kind of nice purple glow in the bottom here. Let's go airbrush thinner. Quite a bit, I guess. A few drops of purple lake. Touch of matte medium or matte varnish. Probably one more touch of matte varnish because these inks are somewhat glossy. And maybe even a little bit of water. Might have been too much. We'll see. We're struggling through this. We're going to make it work. Stir it up. And I like just spraying at, you know, where I've already shot on the cardboard here or piece of newspaper. So I'm going to try to get all in these areas, maybe a little up there, maybe a little bit from this underneath direction. See if we can't, because this to me looks like purple ink over black primer, which I'm not really super happy about. And I guess dumb enough we're trying to fix it by spraying purple ink over it again, but probably should just use purple paint first. But hopefully, so let's go kind of straight on. See if we can't alter this a little bit. Set straight on, but I'm probably actually going a little bit of angle here. And then we'll give it a little bit of a far away misting. I don't even know if you can see how far away my airbrush is. You can't even see it. We still got quite a bit left in here, so I think we'll just keep spraying at it. With a little bit more of our misting. You can see here, you know, on the bottom, but I'm doing it far away, kind of at this angle, but far away misting kind of. Oh, let's get kind of make sure we got the little protrusions here, and spray a little extra into the corners. Maybe we'll even, now we're out. Okay, cool. That's pretty cool. I hope none of this purple mist is getting on my finished unmade character that I did. I haven't been too careful watching where he's been sitting. Might see me repainting him again. So water, airbrush cleaner back and forth, old t-shirt. And we should be good. Spray out the rest. These newer Badger airbrushes I got from the birthday special, like, they actually stain the paint on the inside of the cup. Like, there's no texture to it, it's like permanent. I don't know why. I was using another one that was doing the same thing. It might be a new finish that they have on the inside of the cup. Maybe it has something to do with my window washer fluid, I don't know. Let's shoot a little more cleaner through this, because I don't know if we actually need the airbrush anymore. And one more touch of water. And dry it out, I guess, with the t-shirt. And I think we can put the little lid on. So there we go. Let's let this dry for a second. I'm going to close up what I've been using, and then we could probably get to doing some dry brushing. Ooh, take my mask off. Ugh, that's never fun to wear those things. All right, so I'm fairly happy with the kind of gradation we did here. You can kind of see it's a little more purple from below. I guess straight on for you guys, probably be something like that. On the gaming table, it'll probably look like that while you're playing. Here's the other side. I think the more purple you push, probably the better this is going to look overall. That's my theory. And I don't know exactly. Let's check how long we've been going. Looks like we've been going for 45 minutes. So now that we've kind of tested through, we could probably knock out a lot of the terrain, you know, roughly 30 minutes a piece. The other pieces are much bigger, and this is just the smallest piece that I decided to test my theory on. Now, I think what we would do next is take a dry brush, and I'm going to wait till this dries completely, but take a dry brush and let it pop all these details. Probably in like a gray. Maybe Celestial gray or Ulthwyn gray. I don't know if there's... Yeah, probably just do it in a gray, because I can still go in with like a oil wash or another option if I don't want to oil wash and I want to knock it back, is I have this big pot of game wash from Vallejo. It's a black game wash. Or I have that in brown also to use if I want. Or I could make like a big pot once I have all the pieces ready to go. I could mix like my own wash. So we got options. But yeah, I think that probably... I'm going to be doing the test here. And I don't think I want to dry brush it until it is for sure dry, if that makes sense. So I think we're going to call the stream here, and then I might turn it back on to work on a few other things. But I think that was a pretty successful little test for the Warcry terrain. So hopefully if anybody's interested in doing Warcry terrain in a purple sandstone kind of look, they'll find some interest in this. I think what we'll do next, dry brush the whole thing, only in downward strokes, base coat the little brick areas, these 3 little brick panels on each side, as maybe like traditional brick or something. And then I don't know, I'm thinking maybe gloss coat, oil wash, something like that. That's not a bad idea. I don't even know if I need to gloss coat it, but I probably would. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. Didn't look like we had too much action in the chat, but hopefully some people enjoyed it. And then of course, you know, people watch us back on YouTube. So if you're watching this in the future, please like, subscribe, and thank you so much for checking it out. Adios.